I've not even had the chance to speak to anyone in the background. All emotions going off tonight. I think I've bitten every single one of my nails. Very frustrating first half, much better in the second half. Welcome back to the Devil's Advocate, guys. Thank you all for joining me. Get your comments in. Tell me how you're feeling. Look, I know it's a 1-0 win at home against Copenhagen, but it was 3 points we needed tonight. Results went our way elsewhere, and we really need to capitalise on that. Two big talking points, of course. Harry Maguire. Lots of stick over the last couple of years. We've backed him for a long time, haven't we, Stu? We backed him in this game for defending so well. We backed him today, and obviously he got his goal. Bit of a redemption for him. And of course, ONANA as well. A wonderful save in the end. And hopefully that's a massive turning point for him too. Jonathan, Hammer, Stu, really appreciate you boys being here. I know it's a late one. Loads of you in the comments. Get liking, get subscribing and all that jazz. Jonathan, over to you, my man. How you feeling?
I just don't know anymore. I mean, I know it's a bit of a roller coaster being a United fan at the minute, but Jesus, that game was a roller coaster. I mean, the first half was one of the worst halves of football I've ever seen Manchester United play, and I use the word play very, very sparingly because it was awful. I tweeted at half time that it reminded me of the LVG days in 2015 when we went something like 10 games without scoring in the first half at home. It was awful. The crowd was so tense. The players looked so nervous. They were terrified to play a ball 5 yards in front of themselves. It was so negative. It was really bad. Thankfully, the second half got better, but in reality, it couldn't get any worse. Like you said, so happy for Harry Maguire. He's gotten a lot of stick. I've given him some stick myself, especially when that move to West Ham broke down in the summer. But like that, he's still wearing a Man United shirt. He's a former captain of the club, and he has put himself back into form. And he's shown the form that we saw from him 2 seasons ago when we really missed him in that Europa League final against Villarreal. So look, I'm delighted for him. We were just begging for that goal tonight. Like you said, we just needed the 3 points. And I was so happy that it was him that got the winning goal. And then like that, right at the very end, redemption for another man in the firing line, Andre Onana. What a save. And look, I mean, it was 2 small positives on another night of some negativity. Look, it's 3 points, like you said, but there is still a lot of questions to be answered from Ten Hag and their team.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well summed up. And this is the thing we got to remember. I know we're talking about a goal tonight, but Maguire is a good defender. I don't care what anyone says. And you kind of hit the nail on the head. You know, we missed him in that Sevilla game, and I think he's a very good squad option to have. I thought he actually defended pretty well again tonight, and certainly a good cover to say the least. But of course, the only one that actually went for the ball, and what a header that was as well. Loads you on Facebook as well. Get liking, share with your friends and all that jazz. Stu, good to have you back, my man. I hope you're well. How are you feeling?
I think Jonathan summed it up quite well. But what I would say is that. You just don't know what's going to happen at any given time as soon as that whistle blows. You can kind of surmise, you can guess, you can try and set yourself up tactically if that's how you want to play football. And then all of a sudden the bubble bursts after about 2 minutes in every game of football. It's just life. It just happens that way. And I think interestingly enough for us, Copenhagen just lacked that punch and that penetration that other teams, unfortunately, later on in the season are likely to take. And, after about 5, 6, 7 minutes, you could find yourself on the wrong end of a 2-0 scoreline. That didn't happen today. We kind of dusted ourselves off, brushed ourselves down and limped our way through the first half. It always amazes me when teams, not just Manchester United, when teams come out and suddenly have this renewed vigour in the second half of a match, because you should be able to get up for a game immediately. You shouldn't have to have a half-time bollocking or a half-time conversation to get you going, and we seem to need that at the moment, which is very, very strange. And so we've missed 2 very good chances with Rashford and with Garnacho. Then the big man stepped up. It was a wonderful cross, very, Ericsson-like kind of cross, which he can do, and he doesn't do enough of. And then Maguire
we will talk about Ericsson actually. Really changed the game, didn't he?
He did, and then Maguire put it away. It was a very difficult chance to put away because he's holding off a defender as well as steering it into the near post behind quite clearly a very competent goalkeeper. So all in all, from that perspective, it was great. And then we did our usual stuff, didn't we? With about 30 seconds to go, unbelievable. Fuck you. Oh, good old Alan Jackson. Bet your mum loves that mouth.
Don't know. He might be saying "fuck you" to Copenhagen or something like that. We'll pretend that it's maybe a positive, but anyway.
And so we get this usual last 30-second drama, and ONANA comes and sticks it away. Interesting enough, though, what I will end with Harry Maguire. You don't need to be a young player. You can be a senior pro and look at Maguire with awe, really, because he's demonstrated over the last 18 months how to be a professional footballer, how to play for Manchester United, what it means to play for Manchester United, and what it means to be a professional footballer. And, if I'm Jadon Sancho, looking at what's happening with Maguire over the last few weeks and months, I'd be quite embarrassed right now sitting at home, doing nothing. So all in all, football's about winning. It really is. It's about scoring more goals than the opposition, and we've done that today. So let's not worry about it. Let's move on, and just hope we don't get a hiding on Sunday, because it's likely to happen if they play like that.
Yeah, I think the midfield would be very different. A lot of people obviously talking about Ericsson perhaps starting in that midfield. I think he would get overran, and I think Ericsson sort of dictates the play. But against a team like City, I think you won't be able to dictate the play as much. Alan, if you're not a Manchester United fan, fuck you very much. Anyway, John Commode, evening all, big win. Played well second half, should have won by more, but a great moment for Maguire and ONANA in the USA. ONANA is being interviewed by Schmeichel right now. I'd love to know what obviously he says that. So if John, you can put some comments in now, I'd very much appreciate it. Hammer, great to have you with us, my man. I hope you're well in the States. And how are you feeling after that?
Yeah, I mean, I probably was echoing more of Jonathan. It was frustrating in that first half. I'll be honest, I started doing cutting some things up here, if you guys might get my drift, because of the frustration. So, it's good to get the win because we needed it. We were freaking bottom of the table, and that's embarrassing, especially in the group, with all due respect to all the opponents. So we needed to get the win, and we needed to have some type of positive outcome. And yeah, like you guys said, you guys supported Maguire a lot. I'm pretty sure if you guys remember, I definitely was one of the bigger critics of Maguire. I do appreciate now, at least though, the expectations seem to be tempered because Marc, I believe you said he'd be a great option, a bench option, a squad option, which that I can agree with. But starting week in and week out for us, you guys, I'm sure you guys know. It's for me, unfortunately, it's the same thing as I think I said a while back with Fred and McTominay, right when we got frustrated with them, that it felt like that he reached their ceiling. I think we all know what Maguire's best is and what his, we know what we're gonna get from Maguire, essentially is what I mean. And but anyways, yeah, I'm happy he scored the goal. It was a great goal, like you guys said. And then ONANA at the end, I think he needed something like that. So that would have been a lot more ugly if we hadn't, scratched across the finish line for this one. But yeah, kudos to ONANA as well, because again, I think he's, as we all know, he's not, but I think we all know he's had a extremely difficult start to his time here, and I think that's something that's hopefully going to be able to get him going a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think people tend to forget as well that strikers' positions, particularly, and goalkeepers as well, that they run on confidence a lot of the time, and I think that he's been receiving a lot of criticism, obviously, from the media. Particularly, they wanted, as soon as he made a mistake in the preseason, as you can imagine, with the overhead kick. It bounced over his head. They were very quick to sort of go in on him and very much trying to look for chinks in the armour, so to speak. And it's very difficult to bounce back from that. Listen, sometimes it takes a moment like this to really sort of turn your season around, a bit like the last 3 games, you know, just before the international break against Brentford, 2-1, McTominay, again, a last-minute goal against Sheffield United, pretty much, wasn't it? And of course, again tonight, and then with the penalty save, sometimes you need those defining moments to define the rest of your season. And, you know, we're only 3 points off of where we were last season. It's not all doom and gloom. Yes, it's not pretty, but I really believe that we can turn things around. Looking at the table here, guys, obviously I know we've got to win every single game, but it's starting to look a little bit tight at the bottom, isn't it? Jonathan, what are your feelings? Obviously, I know you're going to be the optimist. I'm sure all of you are, but what are your feelings with how the table looks at the moment?
Yeah, it looks a hell of a lot better than what I could have done about 15 minutes ago if that penalty had went in. But yeah, like you mentioned there, we've just got to win our remaining games. I mean, that game against Bayern Munich at Old Trafford in December could prove to be an absolutely massive game, akin to that game against Barcelona in the Europa League last year, that second leg game at Old Trafford. Like, what a cauldron that was. And I think it ultimately will come down to that game. And at that point, I'm sure Bayern will be well qualified as group winners, and hopefully they kind of bring a weakened team. Although, is there such thing as a weak Bayern Munich team at this stage? I don't think there is. But yeah, look, I mean, it's completely doable. I mean, it's going to be tough, especially going away to Copenhagen. You saw how tough they made it tonight. It'd be even tougher over there. And Galatasaray, we know what that's like over there. It's, speaking of cauldron, it's one of the toughest places in Europe to go. And Bayern made it look easy earlier on, but it is a very, very tough place to go. So, look, we know what we have to do. We've got to win our games. We've got to be confident. Hopefully now we can get a bit of momentum going. What a win it could be if we picked up 3 points on Sunday against Man City. That would really push a bit of momentum behind the team and get us going again. So, look, it's there, it's in our hands. It's not as if we're relying on other teams to drop points. If they do, happy days. But like that, we know what the trajectory is. Win our games and hopefully qualify and maybe do better in the last 16 than we did the last time we were in the Champions League knockouts against Atletico Madrid a few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely right. Anana, John, always helpful in the comments. Anana said it's a big win, but we need to focus on the next game. Schmeichel asked him about big moments for United count more than most. Anana was saying he will remain focused and we need to keep winning. I want to talk about Diogo Dalot. Lots of conversations, particularly in group chats, particularly tonight as well. A little bit poor, perhaps, in the build-up, but also quite threatening at times. You know, the whole team was poor, let's be honest, but Dalot was really making a bit of a menace, really whipping some crosses in and doing quite well, I felt, in the final third tonight in those moments. Would you agree with that, Stu? Were you sort of relatively impressed considering the game we had?
No, he just isn't good enough, really. I take your point. I think you're right. Final third, he was good in patches tonight, but you can't be good in patches in Champions League games or Premier League games. You have to be good for 90 minutes, and his concentration is woeful at times. His positional play is woeful at times as well. But we don't have Aaron Wan-Bissaka at the moment. And, you know, we're almost reliant on Dalot, like we are kind of reliant on Lindelof at the moment to fill out the left back due to our injuries. And you can argue that a club like Manchester United shouldn't be, you know, in this situation, etc., etc., etc. But for me, Dalot, he just switches off way too often. And he doesn't concentrate on what I think is his core game, or should be his core game, and that's defending first and attacking second. Now, you know, clearly Erik ten Hag wants him to be an attacking fullback, but you still got to be a fullback. You know, if you kind of forget what you're supposed to be doing, which is you cause points, then you're just going to struggle. You're just not. It's just not going to work for you. And that's the big issue for me. So he needs to be in a situation where he's working and he's doing his utmost best to defend first and then attack when we need it. Amrabat clearly wasn't on it. McTominay wasn't on it today. So it became a massive issue for everyone. And so for me, he's got to sort himself out.
Yeah, absolutely right. Ten Hag has come out and said a few things, and obviously in the post-match interview, he goes on to say Christian Eriksen is always positive. You can see that he brings football. We didn't have the football in the first half. Every time we have to change at the back. If you look back to last year, we had a very good back four. It was consistent. Every time we control the game this season, we have to swap and make adjustments in the back, and then midfield opens up. And this is the thing as well, actually, that's a really good point, because I've spoken about this on shows previously, and I know that you guys have as well. We talk about partnerships and a settled back four, and I think we've been extremely unlucky with the season so far with injuries, and that has got to have had an impact. Obviously, we were without Martinez. Harry Maguire stepped up and come in and done a great job. Lindelof has been playing bit part at left back. Then, of course, Varane is out every third game. So it makes it very, very difficult. And, of course, Wan-Bissaka has also been out as well. Hammer, do you see some improvements, obviously, this season if we do have that sort of stability at the back?
I mean, we'll have improvement if we have stability in the whole team. I mean, it's been annoying injuries in different parts as well. And yes, the back four has been the most decimated, if you will. And yeah, it'll definitely help out. And when you don't have, especially in the way, for example, Martinez and Shaw on that left side, right? The left side of our defense would be drastic. Left side of our team would be drastically different if we had our starting people on that side. And it's also in regards, again, to give Ten Hag, because some people now, of course, as our fan base does, is wanting to give more and more stick to Ten Hag, but he's playing with what he's got. And unfortunately, we've had to say that for other coaches in the past. But yeah, people want to see Ten Hag style or whatever it is, or a style, but how is he going to put his style in if he doesn't have his first choice people to put his style in? So yeah, it'll definitely improve, but you can even say that in the midfield, right? It's like we can any of us I don't think any of the four of us here can say who our best midfield three is right now with this season, because some of them haven't been playing enough, and they haven't been played enough together to say, oh yeah, these three would work the best together, right? So when you're
two massive parts of the field, really, that kind of orchestrate everything, right?
Yeah. And so when you have that issue, and I can't even imagine as a coach, because now he has to mix and match and plug people here and see if it works, and he has to do it in real time. And when you're doing that for a club like Manchester United, real time seems like light speed. So.
Absolutely right. Get your comments in, guys. We're going to be doing match ratings in a minute, which will be fun. I'm sure we'll see some big numbers.
Just a quickie on that, Marc.
Men. Yeah, go on.
Just a quickie on what Hammer says. Our best midfield includes Eriksen. Whatever you do around him, it includes Eriksen, because Eriksen allows Bruno to play that free role all the time. So it must be Eriksen plus. That's what it must be.
Is it though, Stu?
It is.
So I think we might have the same type of comment reaction here, Marc. Is like, let's say that's true, Stu. We've bought 3 people in, all of which who are supposedly should have been put into our midfield to better our midfield: Casemiro, Amrabat, and Mount. So Eriksen's the best option. So it's either one of those 3. So we bought 3 people, 2 of which is going to be on the bench, one of which we have a number 7.
So you play Casemiro. So you would play Casemiro, Eriksen, and Bruno. That's how you run it. And it's got nothing to do with last year. What it's to do with is an ability to understand each another's role, and that's what makes a good, solid midfield 3. And it's exactly the same, by the way, with when we talk about centre halves and fullbacks. It's getting that understanding of roles, so that when you take a 5 or a 10-yard stroll, you know where X, Y is going to be. You instinctively know, because that's where they are, on normal occasions, and that's what you communicate through the 3. When you've got somebody like Casemiro and Mount playing together, the problem with Casemiro is, and the problem with Bruno is, they don't know how to play with Mount. They don't know what to do with him, and they don't know what to do with McTominay either. But with Eriksen, he kind of understands his role, and his role is pivotal to releasing Bruno. Now, whether or not Bruno's playing good enough to start matches or not, I think that's up for debate. I really do. But that's what he does. That's what his role is there to do. So he's almost the linchpin of creativity that you're missing when you play McTominay or you play Mount. That's the problem. So that's why you've got to work it around Eriksen.
Yeah, and by the way, I wasn't trying to like go necessarily against you. I was just saying like that leaves a extremely difficult choice with midfield reinforcements that we bought in the last two, 3 transfers.
Correct.
You know, so it's like you brought in 3 people, 2 of them's now going to have to get benched regularly if we go that route.
But Vicky makes an also very good point. We know Eriksen can't do 90 minutes, which is also okay, because then you can maybe, and this is what I would do, you can bring Amrabat in and hold and put Casemiro as a box-to-box player, because Casemiro can play box-to-box and he won't affect Bruno's overall game.
But can you do that? That's the thing, because I feel against, as I was saying at the beginning of the show, against someone like City, we are going to get our ass handed to us. You stick Eriksen in, he is going to get turned. I agree with what you're saying. I agree with what everyone said here. However, I think it is dependent on who we play, particularly against like teams like Arsenal, City, Liverpool. Okay, and this poses a real concern for me at the weekend. I'm sure that this will be covered, by the way, on Friday between 7 and 9. Then we'll be doing a preview as well. So make sure you come back and discuss with them. And I'm sure there'll be lots of different midfield 3, particularly with the worry that is Man City this weekend.
As well as you make a good point, you cannot go into that game on Saturday with McTominay, on Sunday afternoon with McTominay in our middle 3. You just can't do it. So
I don't even know.
We know that Casemiro is back training. So do you play Casemiro and Amrabat, 2 competitive midfielders, to try and nullify what City do? But then you've got an issue with Bruno. Bruno won't know what to do, because if you're playing this, and I hate the fucking phrase, this so-called double pivot, then there's a 20-yard gap between Bruno and our midfielders. So he's constantly coming into that 20-yard gap, which leaves a 20-yard gap between Bruno and our forward players. So he's not playing that 10-ish role behind Højlund.
Just a random question. Would y'all, at this point, because Anthony is frustrating me a little bit, would y'all throw...
No, I wouldn't play Anthony. I'll play two up top.
Well, I was going to say, just because he has experience, would you throw Mount outright?
No, I don't know if I'd play Mount outright, but I would play Højlund and Rashford as a 2, or better still, even Højlund and Martial, and then I'd maybe bring Mount in as an extra midfielder for this particular game. And that what that will do, that will offer a lot of fluidity up front. So just say you ran with Rashford and Højlund. Okay, you've got 2 different types of players, which will give Kanji and Diaz problems. Is Kanji actually? Is Kanji suspended?
Kanji's out.
He's suspended, isn't he? Yeah, I just thought. Yeah, he's got sent off, didn't he? So whoever City play at the back, maybe it's Stones. Then maybe they push him back, or they bring Ake in and push somebody out at left back. That's going to give them problems. But the key movement area is always Bruno. Now, when he's free and on his game, he adds something, and he added something in the second half, and that's what Ten Hag needs to do. So no, I would play 2 up top on Sunday. That's how I would play.
Yeah,
but your points are valid, Hammer. 100% valid, and so is yours, Mark. I just feel that Eriksen has proven on the times that he's come on the last couple of games his ability to turn a game around. Now, again, going back to what Vicky said, she's 100% right. But you could utilise him better for 60 minutes than you can for 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm. I think what we really haven't seen enough of yet is Amrabat playing in that 6, Casemiro playing as that kind of box-to-box. And Casemiro has been very much under form. I think that when relationships start to get better throughout the season, these are all new players. This is essentially a new midfield because of all these new players. It's not that straightforward. And I think that if we can see that a little bit more, maybe we can see that. And also, I think Bruno, to be honest with you, he was better in the second half. He did have that more free roaming role. Absolutely agree. But I think he hasn't been great. And I think that sometimes maybe we've just got to drop him.
There is a debate. There's a debate to be had. It really is. And Vicky's right. I don't see it happening either, Vic. But that's what I would like to see. But I don't see it happening.
Yeah. Well, also, I think there was a small talk as well about the difficulty of who you're going to drop, the number 7 or the captain, and I guess we got that answer. But
well, you want to manage at the highest level. You've got to be, you've got to do what's best for the team, not what's best for somebody's ego. You've got to do what's best for the team. So.
Yeah, I think Bruno played better in the second half purely because he went for 4-2-3-1. If you look at the first half,
he was free.
I always look at the first half of the lineup. We were setting up with a 4-1-4-1, which is what Ten Hag wants to play. That's his long-term formation at United, and Bruno was lost, and that's not the first time this season I've noticed that, or any of us have noticed that. Then when they go to 4-2-3-1, like you have mentioned, he has a freer role and he flourishes like we saw for years under Ollie and for a little bit under Rangnick or whatever. But when he's forced to play in that 4-1-4-1 formation, I actually don't see where he fits in proactively, because the best midfield combination I've seen this year, and it was in a League Cup tie against Crystal Palace, was Casemiro, Mason Mount and Hannibal, because it had the perfect balance of defensive solidity, creativity and legs, and it didn't feature Bruno. And I thought the biggest mistake Ten Hag has made all season has been to bring Bruno back into that midfield. He should have had to fight his way back into that midfield. There is no way he should have walked back into that midfield. I know it was a second string Crystal Palace team, but it was still our best performance of the season in a very, very poor season, and he should have stuck to that same 11. And I think he's been paying the price for that decision for the last few weeks, bringing Rashford and Fernandes straight back into that team. I really think that sent a negative message into that changing room straight away.
And I do agree with that. I think you have to treat everybody with the same volition. And ultimately, if you're not playing well enough, you need to take them out regardless. And I think you're right. I think Hannibal stepped up. I'm surprised we haven't seen him more since, to be honest with you. And I think we need to get that relationship really cemented in. If it means Bruno has to work a little bit, let's do it.
But just quickly, just adding to that, there is the old adage, though, that players who have a really good game, and Jonathan Hannibal has played well when he's been in, and it was a more dynamic midfield three. People have been clamouring for McTominay to really start, and he's been woeful the last couple of games. Yeah, he got his goal against Sheffield United, and he got 2 against Brentford, but his overall contribution, his overall play just isn't good enough. It just isn't stepping up to the requirement. And yet there's this old adage, well, he's had one good game, let's see what we do. There are some times where I agree, you've got to chuck somebody in and say, right, I'm going to give you 5 games. You've got 5 games to cement your place. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen anymore. I don't know why. I do know it's modernism in football. It's absolutely.
Well, I don't think it's that. I think Ten Hag is very.
I do, Marc,
No, I don't. I think Ten Hag has been under criticism a lot with favouritism and keeping the same players in. I think it's more that you see Pep Guardiola, you're not playing well, hooks him. You see Klopp, not playing well, hooks him. I don't think it's anything to do with modernisation of football. I think that Ten Hag is too stubborn to make that.
Yeah, he is stubborn. He is stubborn, but that's the modern game. The modern game is stubbornness. When you're going to take a step back and start looking at what's best, for the players around you, for the team, for the 11, for the fans, for the club, and it just doesn't happen. And we all talk about specific formations, and that goes completely out the window, by the way. As soon as the ball's kicked, people are darting everywhere to close players down to do this, and you're out of formation immediately. And I think there's just this reliance on, this is the way to do it, or this is the 2023 way of playing football, rather than playing the same game in 1998. It just, to me, I don't know. I'm not sure I like the modern day version of football.
No, well, I think we can probably. We're going to move on now, Hammer. Sorry, buddy. I'm not sure. I'm sure that a lot of people would agree with that. We talk about VAR. We talk about the whole issues with refereeing at the moment, and Ten Hag. Just quickly before we do move on to Reigns, and I want everyone to get involved in the comments. After a poor first half, we stayed calm. Second half, we stepped up, and overall, we created more chances than them. The win is justified, but it was a narrow escape in the end. Absolutely right. It was a narrow escape, but 3 points are 3 points. We'll take them, and hopefully we can bounce into the next game with a little bit of confidence. just wanted to say, and any one of you that want to come in on this, the whole tribute to Sir Bobby at the beginning of the game, I was in bits. I thought it was excellent. I thought it was lovely. I thought it was classy, and really was a wonderful, wonderful few minutes that we saw, I think, and touching. Really, really sad. Obviously, a really, really bad and sad week for United for many reasons, and particularly that. I think that kind of overarches everything, quite frankly. And this 3 points was truly meant for him. I'm sure. I have seen a few tweets basically saying, "Thank you, scripting gods." Amazing stuff, and I absolutely see that. Right, let's move on then. So this is going to be a little bit more fun, I think, from the last few weeks, but we will start with ONANA. Jonathan, you've been a little bit quiet recently because of these two bastards below me, so I'm going to come to you first, and I'm going to give you one of our man of the matches, I'm sure, Andre ONANA.
Yeah, probably one of his best games in the United shirt, aside from the penalty save at the end. He made a cracking save. I think we're halfway through the second half when Copenhagen broke, and it looked like an absolutely certain goal, but he just got a hand out. I don't know how he made it. It was a De Gea-esque save. But look, it was probably one of his best games in United shirt without a shadow of a doubt. I think the last time I remember him playing that well was the home game against Wolves on the opening day. So I'm really delighted with him, because I said on the show a few weeks ago, I think we should stick with him. It's not easy when your goalkeeper is playing so poorly and he's out of form for a manager to continue to pick him, because it's the most spotlight position on the field when someone makes a mistake. But look, you have to persevere with someone you've paid over £50 million for and who's centred to how you want to play your football. So look, I mean, delighted for him tonight, and I think he definitely deserved a rating of about 8 tonight, I think.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. He must have saw the picture circulating of Heaton, David De Gea, and a couple of others, and thought, fucking hell, I need to be part of this, and stepped up, and he certainly did tonight. Really, really pleased for him, and I know he's made mistakes. I'm fully behind him. I think he's a world-class keeper, and I think hopefully this will be the turning point for him, and I hope everyone starts to see that as well. Right, moving on to Diogo Dalot then. Stu, you always seem to get him, I think, so I'll give it to Hammer. Diogo
I always
Dalot.
seem to get him, yeah.
I mean, I agree with some of what Stu was saying earlier about what I think that's a little bit of Stu's old schoolness as well. Defenders' main thing should be defending. And I do agree he was okay going up front, but I don't think he's been as consistent as some people might like. And Wan-Bissaka is still recovering, right? I don't even remember what his injury would have been or was, but Dalot is getting all the chances, and it's up to him to keep improving. And he did okay today, but I'll give him a 6.5.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Now I'm going to give you some stats here. I'm going to give you some stats here, and if it changes your mind, then please say it. 80% pass accuracy, 64 touches, 4 clearances, 3 out of 4 ground duels won, 3 aerial duels won, 2 out of 2 dribbles completed, 1 key pass, and underneath it says another great performance. Does it change your mind? Was
more than half of those positive offensive stats?
I would say so.
So no.
Okay, fair enough. Right, let's move on then.
Mainly just because he has decent offensive stuff already. I want to see the improvement where it matters being a right back.
Yeah, and I think Stu's points earlier, we've said this so many times before, his positional awareness, his defending ability at times, he seems to be in a bit of no man's land. I think if he can shore that up a little bit, be more assertive in a challenge, be more assertive with his thinking, I think he can improve.
Stop getting bodied, man. Shit. My 13-year-old self could body your weak ass. Get your shit together.
I'd love to see that. Right, let's move on to Raphael Varane. Over to you then, Stu. Your favourite defender now, I believe.
I'm 7 today. But it's hard to live up when you're playing alongside the man mountain that is big Harry Maguire, who gets a sterling 10 because of his performance was bewildering at times. I've got to be honest. I thought Varane had a really solid game today, and I think by virtue of Maguire's goal. Because both Maguire and Varane made 1 or 2 errors today. Maguire's was particularly quite wrong. Instead of kicking it out, he decides to try and run back with it, which is, I don't know, quite understand his thing. But he settled down after that. But I thought Varane was very, very good today. So we get to 7, and my main man, the man of the century. Forget man of the match.
Hang
man
on,
of the century.
I'm not giving you this one. I'm going to move this on to Jonathan again.
Well, I've already chosen Harry Maguire's score. Nobody else can take that. That's
okay,
it.
well, let's see if Jonathan agrees with it. John, in the comments here, hi guys, sorry I couldn't join tonight. It's not a problem, buddy. Obviously, we'll get him on in a future show for sure. But here's the next best thing, me in the chat. And yeah, take the piss out, Stu, all you like. I'm all for it.
Cheers.
Harry Beckenbauer. And do you know what? I like this, by the way, and I missed this a moment ago, so I'm just going to read this to you. The bagpipes moment was like when Busby died. Irony is we won that game 1-0 with a header at the Stretford end. That day was Giggs. This time Maguire. So nice little stat for you there. Love it. Right. Yeah, Harry Maguire. So tell me something different then, Jonathan. Stu was probably being a bit over the top and giving him a 10 and saying the performance of the season. But let's try and reel it in a little bit and give me your honest view on him today.
Yeah, like I said, I thought you did very well tonight, both defensively and obviously offensively with the winning goal. Delighted for him on a personal level and an emotional level, but depends what standards you're judging him on. If you're judging him on this season, the centre halves standards this season, you give him a 10 without a shadow of a doubt. But when you're looking at a Man United centre half, he did his job tonight. He did well. I don't think he did outstanding defensively tonight. He was solid and he carried the ball well, transitioned the ball well, picked out a few passes. A few passes went astray as well, but I'd give him a solid 7 or 7.5. I think he was good, but I think he did what he should do as a Man United centre half. I don't think he did anything special defensively. I think the goal probably adds an extra half a point to his score, bringing him from a 7 up to a 7.5. But that's what I give him on a personal level. Sorry, Stu.
Should have stuck with Stu, really, shouldn't I? 89 touches, 88% pass accuracy, 4 out of 5 great aerial duels, 1, 2 blocks, 2 long balls completed. A wonderful pass, actually. I don't know if you remember over to the switch to Dallo, which went out for a corner in the end. 1 shot, and of course, the winning goal. Yeah, I'm going to go with Stu's, but I'm going to lower it a little bit and probably give him an 8.5. Sorry. And I win this. That's my job.
Yes, you do. It's your show.
Yeah, it is my show. Well, no, it's all of our shows, everyone's show. Right, Sergio Reguilon. Nice to see a left-sided player on that left-hand side again. I thought he was, considering had a few injuries recently and obviously illness, I felt that he actually was very good. Needs to come off, feeling under the weather, and obviously Lindelof came on in the end. But Hammer, how did you feel he did today?
If he was given more opportunities to get some more crosses in on his left foot, I think we might have won the goddamn game by a couple more goals.
Maybe.
And he probably would be getting a higher score. I think it's a comment I've said on here at different times when I'm watching a game and I don't really hear a player's name too often. It kind of makes me feel like they're not involved in the game. So I'm gonna have to give him a 6.5 as I already gave somebody, just because he didn't pop out to me in the game. I think there was an injury too. All right, relax. It wasn't just a sickness for 6 weeks. But
we've all been there. We've all been there.
So yeah, I'll give him a 6.5. And again, maybe whoever gets Rashford, I'll talk about this. But Rashford, damn it, I know you like Shaw, but you got somebody else with a left foot there. Like there was one time in the first half where I was standing there going, "He's behind you. He's behind you. He's behind you," and then he passed it to somebody in the midfield. I was like, "You dickhead!" He was behind you, and he had probably about 10 yards of space. He could have got the ball, stopped it, looked at it, looked up, and then played across. But Rashford didn't tap it behind him. So, anyways, 6.5.
Yeah, I think that's very fair, and hopefully we can. You know what? I don't know what happened really, because obviously we were nearly got him over the line a couple of seasons ago, didn't we? He went to Spurs. Not favourite at Spurs, come to us, and I have to say I've been incredibly happy with what he's brought. It's a shame that he's had those injuries, and I really feel like we're really missing that left-sided player, aren't we? And when Luke comes back, obviously we'll really sort of see the benefits of that. And again, trying to go back and trying to be as pragmatic as possible, Rashford had a wonderful season when that relationship on that left-hand side with Shaw was amazing. Last season, the same thing happened. Now, Rashford, it's not all just about that one player. Yes, he does make mistakes. Yes, his decision making, whatever else. But, you know, it's also about the relationship and who's behind you some of the time. And I think someone mentioned it in the comments, Dallo and Antti earlier. Not quite there, is it? And I think it struggles a little bit due to that. Obviously, we're going to do the first 11, but we might add one or two in tonight because of obviously the impact that they had, particularly Eriksen. But I'll come to Jonathan with Amrabat first.
Yeah, I didn't think he was too bad. He was a little bit isolated. Like I said, that first half they were trying to play that 4-1-4-1 formation, but unlike other teams like Man City who play it very well, we don't have inverted fullbacks that are going to cover your CDM. And unfortunately, Amrabat was showing well for the ball, but Copenhagen had him closed down every single time. So his passing channels just been cut off before he even got the ball. So I think he was a bit smothered in the middle of the park. He tried hard, he showed for the ball well, but there was no options for him when he did get the ball up front. It was just so much of a separation between that back five and the front five. I think he was a bit unlucky to be hooked at half time. Obviously, Eriksen did improve the team, but he was a little bit unlucky. I think I'd probably give him between a 5.5 and a 6 because I think he was a little bit exposed at times with the formation. I think he would have flourished a little bit more in the second half in the 4-2-3-1. But look, that's hindsight. But yeah, I think about 5.5 or a 6.
Yeah, and I think Copenhagen were very much aware, probably our form at the moment. I think they're very much aware that we were susceptible defensively, and I think that you saw that a lot in the first half. I think that he was doubled up on, and so was Rashford quite often as well, and Højlund. And I think you could see those frailties, and that's why he was probably hooked. But again, injury had a bit of a knock, I think, in the international break. Still needs a bit of time to embed. Not everybody comes in like Bruno Fernandes and gets all the numbers that they do, and of course we're not expecting that from him. Hopefully we'll see some more as it goes on. Patrice Evra on Instagram: I'm begging all my Manchester United fans to keep supporting every player on this team. Thank you, Harry Maguire and Andre Onana. Never give up. Nice little sentiment there. Right, let's move on
Harry
to
10. Harry 10.
Sorry.
Harry 10, that's his
Harry
name.
10, yeah,
Harry
absolutely
10.
right. That ship sailed, Stu. Sorry, mate. Right, so McTominay then. Give that to you then, Stu.
Yeah, he had a similar problem, I think, to Amrabat, except he played for 90 minutes. His problem was that he didn't influence the game enough for my liking. He was okay defensively. He made a couple of good defensive tackles, but he didn't influence the game. And you've got to influence the game. He did his box to box quite well. Had a couple of attempts on target, a bit sloppy in places like everyone else today was, but he probably just scrapes a 6 for me.
Yeah, I am still here. Don't worry.
No, that's all right.
So let's move on to. I'm going to give you Eriksen and Hammer. Yeah. Your view and rating for him, please, buddy. And I'm disappointed that no one in the comments getting involved, to be honest. Yeah, so if you want to get in the comments now, please do.
Damn, Marc used a disappointed word. It's like a parent.
I'm not disappointed in anyone, but I want to see some more ratings in there, so get some in there, guys.
He's trying to guilt trip you guys. Anyways, no, I'll give Eriksen. Damn, I'll give him a 7.5. Yes, it was great because 8 and up for me is like, you did some real, you know what I'm saying?
What about the assist?
I took that into consideration. Sorry, maybe I'm being a little bit of a harsh grader here. No, yeah, it was a great assist, and it obviously changed the game, the way we were playing for the better. And I think, like Stu was bringing up earlier, that when he having him in there is very necessary off of his football intelligence. And I think we have more players in the club now than we've had in the last few years that have that football intelligence that I think a lot of us have been begging for. And he's one of the top ones on there. So, I mean, shit, if we could do some type of like crazy science person stuff and give Eriksen Scott McTominay's legs, then damn, we'd have a midfielder. So yeah, I give him a 7.5. It was a great assist. It was a great offensive things that he brought into the game. And then like you guys were talking about earlier, he also allows some of our other players to have more free roles to really use their best abilities to help the team.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think that's a very fair assessment. Right. Gets a little bit more difficult, I think. Certainly a game of two halves. Jonathan, I'll give you Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah, very hard to give him an overall game rating. I think that first half he was completely non-existent. It was without a doubt one of the worst games I'd ever seen him play for Manchester United. I don't remember him having 2 or 3 touches of the ball. He was just completely the invisible man. Second half it got a good bit better. Like I said, we've switched up the formation, and that 4-2-3-1 really does suit him when he's playing centrally, and he really started dictating the play from deep, making runs forward. He started playing as well as we know he can do. But overall rating, I think the first half brings it down. So I'd say pushing just about a 7 because he was really good in that second half. He upped the tempo, and I think he kind of started driving the team forward like a captain should. I think he was a little bit unlucky to be booked as well. But that first half really pulled his rating down. So between a 6.5 and a 7, probably closer to a 7 for me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Maybe a 6.5 for me. I think that it was so poor in the first half. It's difficult to, but you're right. I think he did step up. I did think he drive the team in the end, and sometimes
I think the booking was more reaction than the foul. Like it was a foul, but I think because he got upset after the ref was like, "Okay, now I'll give you a card."
Yeah.
Also, screw that ref.
Yeah, well, he almost screwed it for us at the end, didn't he? But we were right in the end, thanks to ONANA. Right, let's move on to the front three then. I'm not going to include Martial. I'll probably include Garnacho, but I'll give you Anthony against you. Sorry, buddy. Talk to me.
Did he play?
He did. Yeah, he started on the right-hand side.
You sure about that?
You know what I get frustrated with, and I know that he's always done that for Ajax, and he's very much, a Robben-esque player. You play on the right-hand side, cut in a lot. He's not as good. We know that. But I just wondered why when Rashford came off, why they didn't put maybe Garnacho on the right and just see what Anthony does on that left-hand side. Create that width. Try and take on a player. I just feel like he's trying to cut inside, and it's too one-dimensional. I don't know what you think.
I don't know what to give him, to be honest, because I think if I give him 5, that's way too generous. If I give him 1 I want to give him, then people will think I'm being petulant. So I'll have to go somewhere in the middle and give him a 3.5 because he's fucking woeful.
It wasn't anywhere.
It was just non-existent. And the problem for me, and this is what I hate about stubbornness. I don't want to be proven wrong, etc., etc., etc. Well, I'm sorry, you're not getting proved right either. You're stuck in this rut with Anthony at this point in time, and he's not doing us as a club and as fans any favors. He's not doing himself any favors because he's not going to get any better. And it's going to become a graveyard for us, that particular wide right side. It's just an absolute nightmare for us at the moment. So I can't give him any more than 3.5. If anyone disagrees, please tell me, but I just can't do it.
No, I can't disagree with you, to be honest with you. I thought he just was non-existent. I don't really remember him getting it. He didn't really get it. He didn't drive at anyone. I think he did one good thing when he sort of received the ball in the half turn, took out the player, but then it went out for the throw-in, and that was pretty much all I remember. Annoying.
That's all I could give him. I
would say on our right side, once I know Pellestri hasn't hit the ground running when he got opportunities, but once Ahmad's healthy, I mean, Anthony might need to take a shot to the back because that is man management style to me. I think there's certain players where you can be like, hey, sit down until you figure it out. And what it'll do, it'll piss him off. I think that could work for Bruno, but obviously doesn't want to drop the captain. But I feel like Bruno will be one of those players who's like, all right, you're going to sit me for 5 games. When you play me next, I'm going to come off and just destroy the field. Yeah. And that's what he needs to do with some of these players.
Yeah, I mean, we do have Ahmad coming back. We do have Mainu coming back. He played today, actually. For the 18s. Played very well, actually. So hopefully we'll see him on the brink. I know he's young. I know he's inexperienced, but he does look very exciting. And I think he could bring something to the team for sure.
John, he has a right foot. He used it at times at Ajax. He just doesn't freaking use it.
I think he's used it and we've spoken
less
about
than
this.
a handful of times.
Me and Freddy have spoken about this, and I think we've mentioned it every time we've seen it. He's used it, and I reckon it's about 3 times since being at United. So that says everything you need to know. Right, we need to wrap this up, guys. Great show so far. Thank you so much to everyone, obviously, in the comments. Thanks for liking and obviously subscribing, hopefully, as well. Yeah, hopefully. And yeah. So, over to Rashford, and I'm going to give that to Jonathan.
Thanks, Marc.
You're welcome.
Yeah, a little bit like Bruno, an absolutely awful first half, which completely pulls the score down. I think he did a lot better in the second half. I think when Garnacho came on and he was moved to the right, it suited him a lot better. If he'd been played in by McTominay, I think he surely would have scored in that 3-on-1 situation that Garnacho pulled a great save from the keeper. He looked a lot livelier in the second half. He looked like the Rashford of old, just kind of running into open space, which is what he does best. And look, we've seen him trial on the right a few times under Ollie. It worked in a few games. It didn't work in others. I think some games do suit Marcus Rashford better. I think Sunday against City will suit him a lot better. But he was okay tonight in the second half. But I'd give him no more than a 6. He's been poor all season. He didn't do a lot really tonight to turn that run of form around. He just looks shot of confidence. His head is down at the minute, and he needs something drastic quickly to get his season up and running, because we need him more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope he does come into his own, and we'll have to just hope that he does. One thing I will say, you mentioned Jadon Sancho actually, and I've seen a lot of people still talking about him, rightly so. But when you look at players like Dalot, who was out the team, yes, he's not playing brilliantly all the time, but he fought his way back in, granted through injuries as well. When you look at Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who was in the same boat, couldn't get Dalot out of the team, came back in and has been amazing, and now we miss him. Okay, and then you look at probably a couple of other players that were out completely. Maguire, absolutely.
That summer he was our foot out the door.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? You have to look at that sometime. McTominay as well, and Sancho needs to pull his fingers out of his arse and get on with it, I think. But we'll see if that actually ever comes to play. Right, last two then. Stu, over to you very quickly. Højlund.
Why, he's some player, isn't he? I mean, he really is some player. There's just something about him that even I kind of really, really get excited about. I do believe, and I said this the other day, Mark, and I genuinely believe this. I think he put the similar numbers up to Ruud van Nistelrooy if we get it right with him, because he's so strong, he's quick, he's dynamic, he's powerful, and I just think the goals will start to come, but we don't know how to play him at the moment, and he doesn't quite know how to work with Rashford. The problem with Rashford and the problem with Anthony and the problem with Garnacho to an extent is that they don't know what they're going to do with the football. So Højlund hasn't got a hope in hell. He really hasn't. And I think if those lads were playing with Ruud, then Ruud would have, like he did with Ronaldo, would have knocked him out. He would have knocked Rashford out by now, and he would have knocked, Anthony out, and probably Garnacho as well, because that's what a striker does. Højlund's only 20 years old, so, and he's only just come to the club, but he's got to start firing within himself and firing at these players, because these players have got to start finding it, because I'm telling you now, he is a special, special footballer. And I think he's I don't think he's as good a finisher as Haaland, but he's a better overall player than Haaland. And there are similarities. I think he's a better overall player outside the box. I don't think Haaland's brilliant outside the box, but Haaland is superior to Højlund inside the box. But we are sitting on a player, with very, very similar attributes to our man Haaland. Even if we use him right, he'll put up some top numbers. He's a wonderful. I get excited by talking about him. I think he's
on your face.
Fantastic. He's been by far our best sign. I think he's a better signing than Bruno. He will prove to be, in the long term, a better signing than Bruno. And this is something that Bruno should be kicking himself at the minute, because he's not even finding him.
Yeah.
Bruno
can you imagine? can you
and Bruno
imagine?
can find him.
Yeah, can you imagine? To be honest with you, I think the only one really that's been linking up with him better than anyone is Rashford, and that's everything you need to know.
Exactly,
in my opinion. No, it's lovely, short and sweet. Thanks, Stu.
Sorry.
Really appreciate that.
Oh, I've got to give you a score,
please,
haven't I?
please.
Well, I can only give him a 7 tonight because he didn't pop one in, but he's not a Harry 10. But I believe he'll have better. I believe he will consistently score an 8.
Yeah, I do agree. I understand. I absolutely understand your excitement for him. I've loved every minute that he's played.
He's a brilliant player. He really is a brilliant player.
And hopefully, we do play to his strengths. Go on.
If I can give my comment on it, I will keep it short. I could bring a whole breadth of comment, but I'll keep it short for my example. You guys know how much of a defender I am, how much I love defense, how much I loved Martinez last year. I love this freaking kid like I love Martinez last year because he just doesn't freaking stop.
There you go.
It's tremendous.
Yeah, it is exciting. And I really hope we can bring out the best in him, as you say. Let's not waste that talent. He looks exceptional for 20, and he's only going to get better. Imagine him at 27 if we start getting something clear. Oh, man. Anyway, let's stop gushing. Finally, Garnacho, Hammer, over to you, and then we're going to wrap up.
Ooh. You bastard, Mark.
So I do like the kid, and I think he's got great talent. He's going to turn into something for us, but he seems to be plateauing a little bit this season, which is it's technically a sophomore season, which can happen because that's just what happens when you get young players in, and if they're a very good ceiling and a very good potential, they'll do well in that first season, but they're no longer playing against kids. Now they're playing against grown men who've been doing this for years, who this is what they do to feed their families. So, like, they're going to pick you up, they're going to study you, and they're going to figure you out. And I think that's what's happened to him this season. He's going to improve, and he's going to have to improve because this is where you start having to adapt and having to change. And I think that's what's going to happen eventually. He didn't do amazing today. He had a few times where he did get into attack, but it didn't really turn into too much. So I'm going to give him a 6 because me giving 5s and lower to people is me thinking that they had a shit game.
It's a fair score.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair. He looked like he wanted to create something. You know, he wasted a bit of time at the end. I love that sometimes. He had that exceptional run. He
also dug up the penalty spot. Good shit, kid.
That as well. And also, he timed his run wonderfully for that Bruno opportunity. It's just a shame that he took a heavy shot. Opened his body up. Probably should have taken it at that point, and then of course he hit it.
He should have, Mark. He should have. About 16 yards in, just inside the areas when he should have struck it. Absolutely.
You saw it. I think we were all expecting it. He took that touch. He opened his body, and I thought, right, he's going to smash it. And then he took another touch, and it just shame.
The ball was going too quick, wasn't it? The ball was travelling too fast from that final touch. If he'd struck it, I think the pace would have beaten the goalkeeper. I think you're right, 100%, mate. Totally agree.
Yeah. Thank you. It's about time you agreed with me.
I love you really, mate. You know that. I always agree with you. I always agree with you.
I know. I'm only taking the piss. It's just me against Stu tonight. I just thought I'd wind them up a little bit, and here we are. Anyway, really appreciate every single one of you tonight. You three, obviously, in particular. Thank you so much for coming on the show. 3 points is 3 points. We got there in the end. Something positive to talk about. I'm getting fed up with these negative ones, but I've had 3 on the bounce now. How do you think I feel? Great. Thanks to everybody, obviously. Thank you, mate. Thank you. Thanks to everybody in the comments tonight. Lots are going on. Really, really appreciate it. Obviously, we've only just started the Facebook page and quite a few of you watching in there, and we really appreciate that too. Hopefully, you'll be back next time. We've got a preview on Friday, of course, another reaction on Sunday, which I'm not looking forward to, but you never know. Could be 4 in 4. Let's hope. And probably
is it a funny time, Mark, on Sunday? Is it kick off at 2:30?
Yeah, it's 3:30.
3:30 kick off, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. It's a strange time,
is there one afterwards then, are there? Is that
there must be for the Wednesday Champions League teams then.
Oh, maybe, yeah. So it's at 3:30 kickoff apparently on Sunday.
So Jake has got our ticket.
It's a morning game for me. That sucks.
I bet you're gutted. You'll see us no doubt at 5:30. But of course, Keane will be on. I think he's doing it between 7 and 9. I should imagine maybe 8 o'clock. So come back again. But yes, until then, we'll see you next time.
Oh, great.